Get up here a couple of times a year, and I think the last time I was here was March or maybe February. And it's always nice to get up here and see a lot of friendly faces. What I'm going to do is just go through some slides real quickly. And first off, I'm going to talk about our commissioners. One of our commissioners is here with us today, and that's Marty Bartles, and you guys know Marty. But Bob Kennan is our chairman. He is from Wheeling. Steve Walker is our vice chairman from Morgantown. And Steve was going to make it this week to the meeting, but Steve just had knee surgery, so he's at home recovering. Bob Wright is the secretary of the commission from Parkersburg, and Margie we just spoke about. And Joe Bevel is our citizen representative. He is not licensed. He is the CEO of Beaver Coal, but he's been with us for about a year now. He does a really good job. My staff, who makes me look really good, you know mostly. Robert Rucker is our chief investigator. If you've been around for any number of years, you've met Robert at some point in time because he also does audits. Rob Plume is our newest employee. Rob is our junior auditor and investigator, and Rob came on when Heather Kasdorf left us last year. Heather's now working for the state tax department as one of their directors. Lindsay Ryder's our licensing specialist. You've probably spoken to her if you've had any issues with your license. Courtney Lilly is my administrative assistant. She tells me where to go and what time to be there, and without her, my calendar just doesn't seem to work. I can't figure that out. And Anthony Eads is our legal counsel. Anthony is not an employee of the Real Estate Commission. Anthony is an employee of the Attorney General's office. But the reason Anthony's up here is we're going to talk about some legal stuff today. I'm going to go over a little bit about complaints. We've had a lot of requests to talk about complaints, and I'm going to take a few minutes and do that today. First thing we're going to do, though, is talk about licenses. The biggest issue that we have every year is getting folks to renew their license. That seems to be something that's probably a simple thing to do, but there's always a lot of questions. But just a few statistics. This number right here, 499. That's 4,999 active licensees. That's the most we've ever had. We have 855 active brokers. That's also the most we've ever had. In the last week, we have licensed 25 new people, and in the last 4 weeks, we've licensed over 100 new people. Now, the downside of that is that every year at the end of the renewal season, we usually end up losing about 500 licensees. That sounds like a lot, but we've been replacing them a lot quicker than we have been losing them. So right now, we are at all-time highs on active licensees and inactive licensees. The only difference between an active licensee and an inactive licensee is what? Does anyone know? You don't have to have your CE to renew as inactive. That's really the only difference. Things to remember when renewing. These are all very simple things, but we get constant calls about these every year. But the biggest thing is that renewal starts on May 1st every year at midnight. If you're going to be active, you need to have 7 hours of CE. Now, we have a lot of people that don't renew their licenses on time and end up spending a lot of money on late fees because they say, oh, I can't renew because I don't have my CE. What we suggest you do is go ahead and renew as inactive because it doesn't cost you a penny to go active. All you have to do is go take your 7 hours, and that's it. You can activate your license. So next year, if you hear folks say, I've got to get my CE before I can renew, that's great, but you should go ahead and renew either way if you plan to go active. All expired licenses are canceled at midnight. Does everyone know the difference between an expired license and a canceled license? Here's the difference. An expired license you can still renew. That means you missed the deadline to renew your license before June 30th, so your license is technically expired and you cannot do business. But you can still renew that license by paying a late fee. Once your license is canceled, and right now all licenses are canceled on the 15th, sorry, hit the wrong button there. On June 15th, once that license is canceled, you cannot renew it. You have to start from scratch. You have to go through the education again. You have to go through testing again and do everything as if you had never held a license before. Late fees always start on July 31st, or 1st. Since July 1st, we've had 232 renewals. That 232 renewals translates into over $20,000 in late fees that would not have had to have been paid had they renewed as inactive and just simply switched their status. Are there any questions about the process of renewing that you guys may have that I can answer for you? This seems to be the biggest thing we get every year is renewal issues. Okay guys, don't say I didn't ask. Okay, kind of getting into the legislative part of this for me. As you guys all probably remember, last year we tried to run code legislation to get our code changed. It didn't go well. There were some mistakes that I made that probably caused that to happen. But basically what happened was a group of individuals, including all of our commissioners and a select group of folks from industry, got together for 3 meetings and we did a complete review of our code. Out of that code change, everyone on your table should have this. This is a list of what our code changes are. It's a cheat sheet that I provided to the Government Committee. So as you can see, we changed a lot, but a lot of it was just for clarification, but there were certain things that we did change that industry asked for. There were some things in there that the legislative auditors have required us to change. What we're going to try to do is rerun this same bill again this year to hopefully get it passed through. The bill, the way it was written, at the end of the day was stripped to only include one thing. That one thing was the provision for salespeople to be paid through an LLC or an S Corp or a type of corporation. That is currently out there. It is now law. It is not in our book because we're not going to rewrite the book until we hopefully get it all put in there. But as of July the 17th, you can pay a salesperson through an LLC. That's big. We've been asked to do that for years, and we finally got that done last year. So, I should also mention that was done through the special session. That wasn't done in regular session. But what we're going to do is introduce it again. I've already been talking to a lot of folks over in the Gov Board Committee and in legal, and we're hoping that we can get all this passed. Any questions about the code review? The cheat sheet that you have is something that we provided, and we hope to give a good explanation as to what was what. But some of the things that we had to change were things that have been there since 1939. The code says we have to go to the bank once a month. Well, state law says we have to go to the bank every day. So if there's any question that you guys have about this, don't hesitate to call my office and someone can answer your questions about what the code currently is as opposed to what it's going to be changed to.
Before you jump forward and answer a question from me.
Yes, sir.
You said the bill was killed on the final night of the session. Was that in the House, the Senate? I don't remember the bill number. I don't track them all.
Ray,
Tell
were you
me
there?
what happened.
Yeah, it was in the Senate. It just ran out of time.
Ran out of time.
Ran out of time.
Then rest assured that will be put on the agenda on the first day, and would it pass out of the House to start with? Do you remember the vote on the House side?
No, it was a long process for a lot of different
Was it
reasons.
overwhelming votes?
Yeah, it was. When it finally got back on special calendar, you and I talked about this bill at a big meeting, and it was locked up in Senate Government Org, and you went and got it loose for us. I mean, so the fact that the bill even started moving again was all you.
If the votes were overwhelming on both sides, one of the things I like doing is actually putting them on the first day of the agenda, suspending the rules. It's the toughest part for me to go through all the gyrations on it, and then pass it out and get it over to the House on day one. So if it died on the last night of the session, pretty much rest assured, unless it's a close vote of some sort, that we'll get ready to put it back on the agenda day one, send it back to the House, and probably get it picked up. And it's perfected manner, okay?
Before the end of the day, can you and I speak about what I need to do to get you what you need to make this happen?
Yep.
Yay!
Well, I didn't expect that response. Somebody go buy me another brain.
I didn't expect that to happen either, guys, so this is not planned. Okay, moving quickly, we're gonna talk a little bit about what a complaint is and walk you through the process, okay? Has there anyone in this room been fortunate enough to have a complaint filed against them? How was the process?
Pretty clean.
Pretty clean?
Yeah.
That's what we like to hear. We get a lot of complaints, and in the book, it's section 30, 40, 20. It's everything I want to talk about is in that section if you want to go review it. What it basically says here is just the entire process, which I'm going to kind of break down for you so that you'll understand a little bit more. There are 3 types of complaints. The first complaint you'll see starts with the letter P. That complaint is filed by someone in the public. So breaking it down, it would be someone that you have represented that believed that you did something wrong, and they filed a complaint with my office against you. The second type of complaint begins with an L, if you see that come to your desk, and that is filed by another licensee. So that means that a licensee from another brokerage or a broker from another brokerage has believed that you've done something wrong in a transaction, and they filed a complaint against you. And then the third type of complaint is one you never want to see because generally you're not going to win these. This is a complaint that's filed by my office against you. We don't usually file complaints that we don't believe that we can win. The commissioners have to agree to initiate the complaint, and the Attorney General's office is sitting right there to make sure that everything that they've done is proper so that that complaint is going to get pushed through. Okay. Wrong button again. Okay, types of complaints that we get. Unlicensed activity. We've gotten a ton of unlicensed activity complaints. These are the ones that start with a C, because generally when you see a complaint that's for unlicensed activity, it's going to come from my office. Licensed lending. You guys that have issues with licensed lending up here in the Panhandle? We've seen that quite a bit this year, and that is the single biggest issue that we're trying to take care of right now.
Cheers.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you clarify what is licensed lending?
Licensed lending happens when someone from another state who does not have a license in West Virginia contacts a broker in West Virginia and says, hey, I've got this property that I need to sell, and if you'll sign my paperwork, I'll pay you $500. So basically what they're doing is lending their broker's license to an out-of-state brokerage to make an illegal transaction. Can't do that. It happens every day. There are numerous, and this is usually something you see only, it's not in residential property, it's in commercial. So there are many websites out there that just list commercial property. Every day you'll see those websites with people listing property in West Virginia that don't have a West Virginia license. We're trying our best to crack down on those. Improper dealing, failure to disclose information, failure to submit offers on time, that'll get you a complaint. Stealing clients, anybody ever talked to you guys about stealing their client? Yeah, that's another one that happens quite often. Repairs that should have been made, the closings happen, something breaks in the home, all of a sudden the person that bought the property said, you told us you would fix that before we moved in, it's not fixed. Lease purchase issues are big. Property management issues drive us crazy. And then the big one, agency. Everybody in here knows everything there is to know about agency, right? We do not investigate ethics. If you have an issue that you believe is an ethics issue, that goes to the association and you need to contact someone at Ray's office. Resolution of complaints. First thing you have to do is complain on a proper form. We will take those however you can get them to us as long as they're on the form. You can mail it in the U.S. mail, you can email it, you can text it, however you get it to us as long as it's on the form. The reason it has to be on the form is because the state code says it has to be placed on a proper form. The complaint is then reviewed by myself. our investigators and our legal counsel, which is Anthony Eads from the Attorney General's office, we determine if we believe that there's something that we need to present to the commissioners. Once we get that complaint in the door, the first thing we do after we determine that it is a complaint that we're going to send forward is we copy that complaint and send it to the person who the complaint is being filed against. You then have 20 days after you receive that to respond to us, to tell us your side of the story. Once that happens, the complaint is investigated by one of our investigators. They will go talk to you, they'll talk to everyone who's involved in the transaction, and they'll collect all the facts that they can and present it to the commissioners in our meeting. And then the complaint is either dismissed or probable cause is found. If the complaint is dismissed, it goes away. It's never reported on our website. If probable cause is found, it's turned over to the Attorney General's office, and we try to resolve these with a consent order. What a consent order is just basically an order that's sent to you. It tells you what you violated, which rules, which parts of the code that were in violation. And then you have the option to sign that. And if you do sign that, it's generally a small fine and education. The education is going to hopefully keep you from making the same mistake twice. If you do not sign that, then it goes to hearing. You'll have to get yourself a lawyer. We will hire a judge advocate to come in, and it's basically as if you were going into a courthouse, except it's in my office in our conference room. It's the same thing. You're sworn in, it's sworn statements. We don't like them to go that far because it costs everyone a lot of money. It costs the state about $10,000 every time someone decides to have a hearing instead of doing the consent order. Any questions about that? I know I'm going really fast today. Okay. What's coming up? These are the new things that are going to be happening real soon for the commission. First thing we're going to do is we are going to implement CE Broker. I think some of you may already be using it for other states, but we will begin using it, I think, this coming week. CE Broker is what we're going to use to track your CE credits. The information will be automatically downloaded to us, and shortly after that, we're going to have it integrated into our database so that everything is there when you go to renew. You won't have to do anything except select it and make sure it's correct. We are going to go away from PSI as our testing vendor. We've been having a ton of issues with PSI, so we have recently signed a contract with Pearson, and that contract will begin the first working day of January. Our online offerings are going to hopefully be changing here within the next couple of months to put more of our applications and things that you guys pay for on paper to automate that process so that you can do it from your homes. And we're going to eventually integrate everything together. I know I buzzed through this really quick today because there's a lot of other guests, but are there any questions that I can answer for you folks while I'm here? And I'll be here all week. I'll be at the meetings. So we're actually going to hold our commission meeting here next week. It's an open meeting. It's an open meeting. If you'd like to attend to see how they run, you're more than welcome. We will have an executive session where no one's allowed in, but the majority of the meeting is an open meeting. And that's all I've got, folks. Anything? Yes, ma'am.
When's your meeting?
It's going to be Tuesday at 2 p.m. It's the same venue as the association meeting. We've already had a couple people asked to speak, so it should be a good meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Is one of the online things going to be a certificate of licensure?
It is.
Okay. Cool. I didn't hear the question.
She asked if one of the new online things we're working on is a certificate of licensure, and it is.
Sorry, Jackie, go first. Is there a statute of limitations on the
There is, 2 years. I've been here 7 years now, and in the 7 years, we've only had 2 things that come up that the statute of limitations kept us from investigating. But it is a 2-year statute of limitations. Danya, did you have something?
Yes, so there's a few things that we're still not able to pay for online with the real estate commission that we still have to mail. A $10 check for change of address or name change.
Those are all gonna be online.
And when will that happen?
The first rollout is gonna be in December, and then probably by this time, well, hopefully before that, by the end of June next year, they should all be there.
That's awesome. The mail is awful anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing things take 3 weeks to make it 4 hours, so.
Well, you can ask some of the old timers, we've come a long way. When I first took this job, everything was on paper. There was no automation at all. So when I came over from DEP, that was the first thing I did, was automate the processes. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. You actually got done quicker than I thought. I
told
told
you I
everybody we'd
could
be
do it
late.
15.
You did it. We're 5 minutes early now. Well, we can take about a 5-minute break then before we start this, or go ahead and get started. Go ahead and roll with it. All right. There's a lot of ball games tonight, Donna. I know. There are a lot of ball games going on. So we're trying to finish up by 7 o'clock. We appreciate everyone who came in a little bit late. I heard there was some sort of a golf tournament going on today. What were you up to, Paul?
Might have been playing golf.
Might have been. Well, hopefully you guys had a good time. It didn't rain. All right, so we're going to get this meeting called to order. So this is the business that we are here for today as the Realtor Association, and that is a proposed bylaw change, okay? We don't have a lot on the agenda. This will be very, very quick. Now, everyone has this on their table as well, and the proposed bylaw change is going to be regarding section 3, and that's dues payable. Now, dues for all members shall be payable annually in advance. We had October 15th. We're looking to change that to November 15th for the next calendar year. If not received by, we were November the 15th, we change it to December the 1st. A 10% administrative fee will be assessed. Dues shall be computed from the first day of the month in which a member is notified of election and shall be prorated for the remainder of the year. In the event a sales license or licensed or certified appraiser who holds a realtor membership is dropped for non-payment of board dues and the license remains with the designated realtor's firm, the dues obligation of the designated realtor as set forth in Article 10, Section 2A will be increased to reflect the addition of a non-member's licensee. Dues shall be calculated from the first day of the current fiscal year and are payable within 30 days of the notice of termination. Do we have a motion? So moved. Is there any discussion? All right. Do we have a second?
I just would like to, the discussion about people can still make the payments through the year.
Yes, this does not adjust any type of the payment system. Now, you will see next year we'll update the prepayment because you can prepay as a member. We were doing quarterly. You're going to see that grouped together a little bit more. The reason for this change is that our staff and poor Tammy for several years now has had to do 2 whole separate invoice systems for our members because NAR rolls out an additional invoice after she had already put into the system for everyone's dues. Even though it may have only been a $10 invoice, but she's got to reset that for every one of our members. So this just kind of helps things fall in line appropriately. Yes,
You want me
Judy?
to talk about that?
Yes, please. And if you would come up so everybody could hear you. I know I swear you.
what's gonna happen, because NAR, whenever they do their dues increases are usually in May. Normally, I put the dues out in February so you can start making your first payment by March. So what we're gonna do, and the board has approved this, is the dues billing will not go out until June, and your first payment will be in July. So if this passes, you will have 5 payments, monthly payments to make instead of 4 quarterlies. That way you'll be paid by November 15th, like it needs to be done. So you'll see that come out, and we'll send notices out to membership because everybody's gonna expect to see it in February. So, but you will see that in June instead of February.
Yes, Dawn?
And if I still wanted to make 4 quarterly payments, I could, correct?
You can make as many payments if.
It's gonna
You say it's many payments.
Yeah,
You won't be able to make your first payment until June.
won't be able to.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Once you make your first payment, you can go in and make extra payments if you want to.
Okay.
Tammy,
Yes,
will still
Tina?
be able to fully pay in advance?
Yes. Once you make those 5 payments, of course, if you make your first payment, everything else is automatic.
No, but I'm saying, can you pay the full dues in June?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Once those orders are out there, you can make full payments, half payments, however you want to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it going to stay that way then, Tammy, from there on out?
Yes.
Until the next change?
Yeah. And the main, like Don just said, the main reason is when I create those dues billings in February and in May, NAR increases something, like this year they increased the ad campaign, I have to go in and create a whole new dues billing just for that $10. And then, obviously, you guys don't understand, I mean, we tell you, but you don't understand that there's an extra $10 out there now that you have to pay. And it's not on the automatic, where if you've been making payments automatically, you still have to go in and pay that $10 separate.
Any other questions for Tammy while she's up here? No. In the event that this is passed with, in a moment, this does go in effect immediately, okay? So if there is anyone struggling financially, any newer agents, it does give them a little bit more time to get their dues paid by. Is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
We need to second the motion first.
We didn't have.
You already had a second.
Well, yes, up there, somebody up there. Yeah, the motion came from the committee, so then we were looking for a motion here, then discussion. Now we just need all in favor and if there were any opposed. Motion passes. Our official meeting is over. The board. And now Ray will have the floor and our legislators. We do have a wonderful table here for you with fresh iced water. Please have a seat. Don't be threatened. We are not here to be rough on you.
I'd like to welcome everybody and thank everybody for attending as well. I hope to see you guys all this week since I'm here all week for convention. The Jerry's meeting and his education workshop afterwards. I came here from Weirton last night though, and I found there's no way to get there from here. No way at all. But they do have a nice bypass where they get to go into Washington, PA pretty quick. 256, I think it was called, so it's 4-lane all the way. For those of you who didn't understand, when Jerry was talking about that piece of legislation, I wanted, when I said what I said, it was originally we had it locked up in Senate government org, and I had a conversation with President Blair in a big meeting, and he left that meeting saying he would take care of it. Next thing I knew, it was on the move, so he actually did left that meeting, went down and took care of it, and got the bill moving for us on the Senate side. So it just, it was about 15 minutes to the end of session, and Senator Romano decided to. You remember that? And that's how we lost it.
That was my talk to at the end of the session. It will not happen again.
Well, he's gone, so we don't. But yeah, and so that was the real reason that we got caught up in that. But so I won't take any time talking, so I'll let you guys speak. I know you've had some issues ahead, and we'll just start. I guess maybe start with an introduction. If you guys take maybe a couple minutes to introduce yourself and just go down the line who you are for those that don't know or didn't hear in our late arrivals, and then we'll take it from there. So you start.
Delegate Wayne Clark, the new 99th district, which is Charlestown and parts of Jefferson County. Be seeking my second term as a delegate. And a little bit about myself. I'm a small business owner. I own Locust Hill Golf Course. That's what I do as my day job. My night job is I am the executive director of the First Tee program, which is a youth golf organization. And then my third job is your delegate. So I don't know what much more I want to say. So I'll leave it at that. All right.
Well, hello, I'm Paul Espinosa. I represent the 66th district, which essentially is southern Jefferson County. My new district, should I be elected in November, is the 98th district. That include essentially southern Jefferson County as well as the corporate limits of Branson as well. Honored to serve as House Majority Whip, currently in my 10th year in the legislature, and appreciate your invitation this evening. Apologize for our some of our I guess less than formal attire, but anyway, appreciate the invitation. Good to be here with you.
I'm Patricia Rucker. I'm the state senator for the 16th district that lives in Jefferson County, and along with my partner from Berkeley County. I'm very proud to be one of 4 female senators in West Virginia Senate. So I live in Harper's Ferry. I'm a mother of 5, and very glad to be invited. This is the second time I think I've been invited to your association meeting, and always great to see you guys.
My name is Chuck Hurst, and I am delegate for the 62nd district, which is northern Berkeley County. Just finishing my first term. The new district that I'm running to be reelected in will be the 95th district, which is kind of northeastern Berkeley County. The district changed considerably. And I'll just thank you guys for having us here today.
Hi, I'm Hannah Gafford. I am one of the only 4 women who are in the Senate with Patricia. The 16th, we've got half the women in the Senate, which is nice. It's nice to see so many women here today. I took John Unger's place when he decided to become a magistrate.
My name is Ken Reed. I'm the current 59th district. I represent western Berkeley County and a chunk of eastern Morgan County.
I'm Craig Blair. I represent the 15th senatorial district, which is Berkeley, half of Berkeley, all of Morgan, all of Hampshire, and part of Mineral. After redistricting, it'll be about half of, we lose Mineral, and then the more would be in Berkeley, and about half of Hampshire County. I've served on virtually every committee there is, except for Judiciary, and I've served in the House of Delegates for 8 years, and in the Senate for 3 terms and 10 years of that. Thank you.
You want to do questions from the audience first, or do you?
I think Jason Barrett will be here soon too.
Yeah, I just let you get started first, and then we might have some questions that arise from y'all's conversations.
Well, one of the things that Senator Rucker certainly started to talk about before here is this in the real estate world, because we put signs in yards when we sell property, people know we're there. And it's, home rule has created a situation where every time someone lists a piece of property in another part of the area, they have to get another business license, and another business license, and another business license. And not everybody has, technically I suppose everybody's supposed to, but not everybody has to, because they don't see you when you come and fix the refrigerator, or an attorney can practice anywhere they want without. But because they see our signs, we've had cities confiscate signs, write tickets, have trials. I mean, some of them get pretty serious, our city trials, get pretty serious about it, where we don't mind paying taxes wherever we have to pay them, but it's the current statute, it's the responsibility of, if my corporate headquarters, if my business is located in Martinsburg and I sell a house in Shepherdstown, it's the city of Shepherdstown's duty to come to Martinsburg, where I have to pay my taxes and collect the portion from the other city. And that's the way it works. But so they don't do that because it's too much work, and so instead they just start saying, you gotta have a business license, gotta have a business license, gotta have a business license. And so everywhere they go, they have to have another business license, rather than just having the business license wherever their office is based. And certainly all the other cities have a right to those taxes that are theirs wherever the property is sold. Having the business license everywhere, and not every business being treated that way is unfortunate.
If I can just start by saying that you may remember a couple years ago, we did pass a bill that at least made it where the municipalities couldn't do additional occupational licensing. You wouldn't have to get an additional, license to be a real estate agent in terms of your profession. So we did prohibit that in the bill. But one of the problems that we need to balance out, the municipalities have limited sources of revenue for them to run their business, and this is one of the ways in which they do get some money, is that being able to require licensing for you to do business in that city. We could, of course, draft a bill that would exempt you guys from that, but I imagine if we did, there's going to be other businesses who are going to come the next year afterwards and ask for the same exception, and then there'll be another business after that. And I can tell you that myself personally, I would not be opposed to doing that, but the municipalities are not going to be happy. They're going to, of course, come to the legislature and say, you're taking away one of the few sources of revenue that we have. So in my opinion, it is something we definitely should discuss, should look into, and see how much of their income really is dependent on these type of business licensing fees, because I definitely understand your point of view. But I just wanted to explain this is one of the things that, we have to balance when we consider if we're going to try to make this change. There will be those on the other side who are going to, of course, oppose it, and we need to have an answer to that. So it's definitely worth a discussion.
Can I ask a question? That is are you averse to paying the fee, or are you averse to being all spread out all over the place? If you could be able to take your phone and click on the cities that you want to deal with, or the counties, or whatever it may be, and just click through and hit send, and they're paid for, would that be acceptable?
That's them.
Somebody poll them so that we get a feel.
Dorothy, go ahead. Well, the other issue that really comes to bear is if that municipality charges B&O tax, I pay in 2 different cities. And very frankly, I don't think I should have to pay B&O tax in 2 different places. I object to having the second license too, but I almost can say, okay, I'll take the license for $15 or $20 a year, but I don't want to pay B&O tax in both places.
Oh, I paid B&O when I ran Sunset Water Services. Anytime I did work in a city that was not the city of Martinsburg, but another one had B&O tax, I had to pay that B&O tax.
But if you're in the city of Martinsburg, you pay it on everything.
Right.
And so now when I do business in Hedgesville, I have to pay Martinsburg and Hedgesville.
On the same transaction?
On the same transaction.
I get what you're saying on that. I was in Hedgesville and I didn't have it, and I paid it in the cities, but otherwise.
I paid both places.
I get it now.
On the entire business.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Whether you make a profit or not,
yes, that would be correct.
yeah, got it. I still didn't get an answer, by the way.
I thought you told us to poll it, so I was.
You're always gonna have people who are against a lot of things, but if things were streamlined, it makes it a little bit easier. But I think the biggest problem you run into is the fact that you still have places like the city of Martinsburg that are gonna be taxed in multiple ways. So that's one problem we would have to fix to help promote the growth of Martinsburg in the first place, because we're trying to always encourage that. But in a lot of other realtor standpoints, we already pay for a state license. Why do we have to pay for each individual municipality that we're going to sell a home in? You know, that's the big problem.
Excuse me.
It's kind of the rule in the municipalities, that any contractor doing business there, who resides there, pays that fee. So would not that solve the problem if they make indicated of your residence? Could that take care of it?
If they went all over our
That contractor
residents.
can still do business in the Panhandle or even another county, as long as it reads the place of your residence. You only have to pay that fee one time in the county or the municipality of your residence.
It should only be where our real estate office is located.
Yes.
Where you hang your license.
Yes.
Correct, where we hang our license.
And if you have
So-
multiple offices, each office is that
Correct,
area.
which makes
has
sense.
their place.
But what we deal with is the fact that I sold a home in Morgan County, and then I sold a home in Jefferson County, and I sold one in Hardy County, and then you jump from Martinsburg to Hedgesville, and everyone's wanting you to have an individual license, and that's what doesn't make sense for real estate agents. You know, a lot of people think that real estate companies and agents make all this money, and these municipalities think that they should just tax us on every single one of those. But, you know, what other businesses actually have a license for every one of those places that they work? We already became an LLC or an S Corp. We licensed with the state. We could get taxed on everything, you know, and some people are living by the skin of their teeth and some people are basking in riches, but it's still not fair that we would have to be licensed in every individual place. And that's probably one of the most important things to real estate agents in the first place, real estate brokers.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
How about if it worked like a passport? Where you had a passport, but every time you were going into a different country, you got a stamp on your passport. So you'd only pay once, but the city would want to know, whatever city it is, who's working in our city. Like the country would want to know who's coming into our country. Would that work for you? Because
Would they be taxing us for working in their area is the question. You know,
like
like,
that's the issue, is the taxation.
it is, it's the license fee. So if I've gotta go get a license to list a home in Charlestown today, when I already paid for a state license, I already have a license for the 25403 zip code, which I'm Martinsburg, but not the city, so thankfully I don't have the B&O tax. But then if you're wanting me to pay fees just to sell a house right there too, and then, oh, well, you need a license to sell here, I seen you sold a home in this county or this city, did you have a license for that? It's a never-ending process is the problem. You know, we don't mind people knowing everything we do is public. It's the matter of having to pay an additional fee to sell in this town, to this town, to this town, and to have an additional license. And then by law, we're supposed to have those licenses visible. So what are we supposed to do? Have this whole wall of our licensees and every township that we're licensed in, I think is where it just gets nominal.
Ridiculous is what I call it.
Yes, sir, I was trying to be nice. Carol.
It's my understanding that this legislature is for less taxes and less fees on business people. You know, when I look at it, in Berkeley County and Jefferson County alone, the transfer taxes are out of sight because of our volumes. That may not be the case in the rest of the state, but it is. Why couldn't something with those transfer taxes be given to the municipalities? Because there is enough there to spread that wealth. Instead of taxing the individual, because we're all individual businesses, you know, we're paying, she's right, I teach this, we pay 40 cents of every dollar we make because we're 1099 employees. Don't ask us for $41 out of every dollar, okay?
Mr. Clark.
Yes, so, does anyone know any neighboring states that also has home rule? What they do differently? And it doesn't work? Could anybody get us some examples of what other states do? It might be as simple as just adopting that same code.
I mean, I can speak for Maryland. I mean, we don't have any of it, right? But then again, our Department of Labor oversees everything in Maryland. So we don't have the additional fees. Now, to compensate for that, the state of Maryland has transfer taxes that are outrageous. But there's no fee imposed to me.
Does Maryland have home rule? Does Maryland have home rule?
All that I don't know.
Yeah, so that finding a state that has home rule and what they do in regards to that situation could help us out a lot.
I'll see if I can find out on that. Marty, did you have?
Yeah, I don't know that this is an option for these officials, but a lot of agents and brokers don't realize that even if you are a wholly owned company with two different branches, there are municipalities that make us both have a license. Now, what is that? We're wholly owned by one company, but she has to have a license, I have to have a license.
It's, you can see this is a hot topic. And we want to move on to some other topics, certainly as well. So we'll try to move on to, does anybody else up here have any more about this?
I'd just like to say that I have been an advocate for licensure reform, and certainly appreciate hearing, you know, your concerns about this, because if we're not aware of it, obviously we can't address it. So certainly happy to engage with you further and try to figure out, one, I think it's very important to know that you're being treated equitably. You know, if some folks are not incurring this type of taxation, then I think that's obviously something that would lend support to trying to get it addressed. So happy to hear more about it and see if we can work something out that is more equitable.
Before you close this out, Matt Harvey is the president of the Municipal League for the state of West Virginia.
No, County Commission.
County Commission. Forget it. I thought he was doing municipal.
No.
Then let me get back on my phone for a minute. Whoever's in charge of municipal, we'll get them up here and have a conversation, manage it, because right now they're standing down on Amendment 2. That's why I thought it was Matt Harvey.
Oh, I see.
And I don't remember.
It's okay, no worries. I do want to say, I mean, you are correct that we are definitely for lowering your taxes and streamlining government. So, you know, whatever ways we can, I can tell you, I definitely would like to see things be easier for all business owners in the state of West Virginia. So, and like I said in the beginning, I'm definitely okay with drafting, you know, this change. We just have to be ready to answer those objections and to, you know, just make it clear what are the next steps. Like, are we now going to have an avalanche of others who also, you know, want to pull out? So getting that information, doing that research just helps us, you know, do a better job of that.
I would argue that you need, before you draft the bill and everything, you sit down with the cities and be able to get them to understand and find that compromise, that sweet spot on there. Because I doubt if you're going to run over top of them, in my experience, because it's pretty evenly balanced. The legislators
We'd certainly be glad to do that.
So.
Since you brought it up on Amendment 2, do you guys want to have a discussion on the amendments? Thoughts?
Sure.
Who gets to go first?
You can, Craig.
How long do I get to start out?
About 3 hours. We're running early.
I have short versions and I have long versions. Definitely short. How many people, I can make it, if you're voting for Amendment 2, I can make it really short. If you're not voting for it, but then I have to explain a lot of things to you on this. The fact of the matter is that right now the force is out here, including the governor, putting misinformation out about what Amendment 2 does and doesn't do. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, the number one question is, how are you going to pay for Amendment 2? And that's relatively easy. 3.5 years ago, I was the finance chair for the West Virginia Senate, and we were working on Amendment 2. And if you notice me walking around with a cane and all that, well, I'd been in an automobile accident, and I wasn't running on all cylinders when we were doing it, but we didn't get it across the finish line. And we looked at a lot of different ways of doing it, but what we did get started was a flatline budget. And a flatline budget generates $136 million a year at that point in time. Okay, now it generates $147 million a year. That's what the average is for the flatline budget. So you can average that out. 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago, we saved $126 million. Second year, 277. Third year, 407 million. Fourth year, it's 544. Now again, I said that number changed because you can use 147 now because of the growth and what's doing. That average has made it work out to being $588 million. To keep the counties whole and the boards of education whole in this state, it costs $558 million to be able to do that. That's the Senate plan, the proposed legislation to do it. We've been catching the Dickens. I'm sorry, I'm a plumber. I curse sometimes.
We all do.
I curse a lot. But we've been catching the Dickens because we put a plan out in advance. Well, what's better? Having no idea, vote for with no thoughts at all on what Amendment 2 is going to do except for on the hopes, or put a plan out and give you an idea. We put a plan out there that actually takes care of 40 of the 55 counties are declining revenue counties. Each one of those counties will get $1 million more in that $558 million than what they're currently getting. And they're guaranteed into the future to get that. Okay? Now, it's not constitutionally guaranteed, but right now they're constitutionally guaranteed, those 40 counties, that they're going to be on a declining revenue stream. It's stupid, to be quite honest with you, anybody that doesn't like this. Now, the regional jail bills, all the counties have been complaining about that. So any county that the regional jail bill wasn't fitting into that $1 million, we took it and jacked it up so counties can get more than that. And then there's going to be growth counties. And growth counties can actually get more. But the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's wrong to tax the automobiles in the state of West Virginia. It's wrong to tax business, whether they make a profit or not in the state of West Virginia. And they're certainly wrong to tax inventory. We all heard about supply chain issues and seen stuff missing on the shelf. Really? You're going to tax it so that in June and July that people make it so that you don't have any inventory to avoid paying the tax? That's insane. It's a regressive tax that has actually driven businesses out of this state. We in the Eastern Panhandle have witnessed the laws and the actions that have taken place in the state of West Virginia and our Depression-era Constitution, because you've seen Corning, 3M, DuPont, GM, the list goes on, of businesses that left this state, left this area. We're finally getting it right over the last 8 years of being able to get businesses back to this state. There's only a couple things left that is, when it comes to corporate America, that is roadblocking it. This is one of them. But again, We've got 1.3 billion in excess revenue, 407 million of that is the flatline budget. We've been able to manage our fiscal resources better. Now, it didn't hurt anything for the severance tax to be good. And by the way, for the month, this month, the month that we're in, it's going to finish up tomorrow. We will finish up over $160 million above revenue estimates for the state in the month of September. Those numbers will come out on Monday, but I took a quick glance at them, and it's severance tax, it's personal income tax, it's the sales tax collection, it's corporate net. And by the way, we lowered the corporate net down over the years. Why? Because it was taxing businesses out of the state. And if you're not making a profit, you're not going to pay it. That's a corporate net is a good indicator, letting you know whether businesses are making a profit. We're making double the corporate net that we've ever made. Why? Because businesses are now profitable again in the state of West Virginia. Let's not forget one other thing. I know I sound like I'm a preacher or whatever, but I'm passionate about this one. And that is that everybody here has an automobile. You drove in with it today. And hopefully everybody had a West Virginia tag on the back of it, because we all barked about that. But who cares afterwards if you get rid of the personal property tax and you keep the counties whole? But there's a reason to care. And that is that you're going to be able to, when you get rid of the personal property tax, walk out to your automobile, hold it up to the license plate, click, click, renew the tags, and be done. No more trips to the DMV.
Oh my.
Okay? Tax error in itself is reason enough to do it. But we're not going to hurt. These counties and school boards are subsidiaries of the state. Come on, get up here. You're fine. The counties and school boards are subsidiaries of the state. If anything goes south, and it has in the past, guess whose problem it is? Ours. The state of West Virginia has to be able to manage every aspect of that. So if they're sitting there telling you that we're going to hurt them, and thank God for Berkeley County's commission or council, they've come out in support of it. And I didn't have anything to do with that. It had more to do with their lobbyist, which is his wife. But I was excited, and I came in and spoke to him, and God bless them. Our county commission or county council is ahead of the curve to most. What are we trying to do? I get in trouble sometimes back home whenever I tell people that I really don't care about what we do for the Eastern Panhandle. What's good for West Virginia, when we're fixing West Virginia, is great for the Eastern Panhandle. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys are getting to see it. The starvation is taking place in the rest of the state. But we need to have growth counties like we are in all the rest of the state. So that's my goal, to get a new core at Procter & Gamble in every other county in this state. That's a rising tide, that's all about. So you're worried about whether you get enough money, our tax dollars back? Well, if you've got growth counties and they've got greater resources, you're going to get to keep more of your tax dollars home for a 9 bypass going west. There's a whole host of things that we're going to be able to do if we're able to get these growth counties. And ladies and gentlemen, I am personally exposed to over $30 of potential, $30 billion of potential investment coming to the state of West Virginia. And I'll stop. Because I'm eating up everybody else's time.
Right. And I, just to add, just 2 more points, just so you understand, Amendment 2 does not affect real estate taxes, okay? The only effect that it would have on you is that when we grow our economy, you guys are gonna benefit from the people coming in. So that's the way it's gonna benefit you. And then second point I just wanna add to Craig's is, you guys remember pilot agreements and that controversy? Pilot agreements is when a new business wants to come here, and in order to come here, we have to exempt them from these taxes, and we have a special deal with just that one company to get them to come here. If this amendment passes and we no longer have these taxes, we can treat all businesses the same, and we don't need to have special treatment of certain businesses just to bring them here, just to attract them here. And all businesses, including existing businesses, will get the same benefit. So I just wanted to.
While you're on pilots, here they are, tell them.
Okay.
Tell them what the pilots are, touch it once or twice to keep it from going away.
Okay, the pilots right now that we have is with Argos, Macy's, P&G, Knox, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, Knopf, Ecolab, Clorox, Torch. Is this for the entire state or just Berkeley County?
Yes,
Berkeley.
that's just Berkeley County.
Okay.
And none of us are opposed to pilot agreements, ladies and gentlemen. It's a way to get businesses here. But what we are is small businesses like yourself, like I was, like this man is. It makes it so that we can actually grow our business as well. Thank you for Patricia, because I missed out on that. Let me add one more thing, and that is that on the personal property tax, when you vote for Amendment 2, that doesn't affect anything. It actually takes a piece of legislation. It only gives the legislature the ability to lower or eliminate the taxes on certain classifications of personal property. It takes legislation to do it, and I left that part of it out because everybody gets confused. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get your automobile tax eliminated. I can tell you, guarantee it though, because I can just tell you that I'm not going to vote for any piece of legislation until that gets taken care of, because when it passes by the people, it comes with expectations.
So I had intended to really emphasize that point, because first, I applaud the Senate for coming up with a plan, a proposed plan, because that was one of the criticisms I think a lot of us were hearing, is that, well, if we vote for Amendment 2, what is that going to mean? What's that going to look like? And so the Senate, to their credit, has come out with a plan. I think it's a plan certainly worthy of serious consideration. I ultimately think that something along that line will likely be enacted. But it's very important to understand the last point that President Blair made. Voting for Amendment 2 does not change any taxes whatsoever. It simply gives the legislature authority to reform taxation of personal property tax. It gives them authority that we don't have today. Our governor has been out, obviously, stumping against Amendment 2. However, here recently, it's my understanding that he actually said, well, I think I could get behind eliminating the tax on personal vehicles. Well, with all due respect to the governor, if we don't pass Amendment 2, we can't eliminate the tax on personal vehicles. That's the whole point of passing Amendment 2, is so that the legislature has that authority that we don't have today. So if we're serious about finally eliminating that tax on personal vehicles that I suspect everyone in this room would love to eliminate, if we're serious about doing that, the only way to do that in the foreseeable future is to pass Amendment 2 so the legislature can get about doing that. And I totally agree with President Blair. I think that is going to be the very first thing that we do as a legislature, is eliminate that tax on personal vehicles. So again, I think that's a very, very important point. And it's really, again, giving us flexibility that virtually every other state in the country already has. But because it's in our Constitution that we have to tax things the way we are right now, we don't have the flexibility to eliminate that tax. So that's really what's on the ballot, is giving the legislature, your elected representatives, the authority to do that. And as I think Senator Rucker, as well as President Blair, have indicated, or have alluded to, you know, to think that legislators, 100 members of the House and 34 members of the Senate, are going to vote to defund their local school boards and defund their county governments and defund their municipalities, those that are receiving some of these taxes. I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, how long do you think we would remain in office if we did that? I mean, and as President Blair also said, we're the ones, and they're political subdivisions of the state. We're the ones that ultimately would have to make up for, you know, any loss in revenue that they would have. So again, just would continue to trust us in
granting us the authority that we've used in other areas to move our state forward. This is a way to really move our state forward. And first and foremost, let's eliminate that tax on personal vehicles so that we're not an outlier like we are today.
Yeah, one thing I would like to add, you all are a lot closer to many citizens, and as you're showing homes and visiting other people, and like Paul just mentioned, the school boards are against Amendment 2 because they think we're just going to take away their funding. They think that if we pass Amendment 2, their funding goes away. Reiterate the fact, all it does is gives us the opportunity to make a change. We can't take away the funding for the education system. We'd all be out, but also that we have to provide a free education to all residents. So we have to fund that no matter what. So we can't just eliminate the school board. So there's a lot of comments coming out from the school boards, from the West Virginia Education Association, that all we're going to do is defund the schools out of this program, and that's not the case at all.
It's not possible.
Before we, Jason, why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself to everyone?
Okay, well, I apologize for being late. My name is Jason Barrett. I currently serve in the House of Delegates in the 61st District and I'm running for State Senate in the 16th District. So thank you all for having me.
We also got word Chairman Householder isn't going to be able to make it. So.
One of you people get ready and talk about the real property, because a lot of people are thinking that it'll affect the real estate. Paul, I thought you were going to get there on that, and that is it's capped. Y'all want me to do it, or somebody else down here want to do it?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right, there's the same culprits that have been opposed to right to work and a host of other things in this state are all ganging up and putting misinformation. Another one that they're out here saying is that this is going to affect your real estate property taxes. Categorically false. Why? Because there's a cap in place on how much you can charge for real property in the state of West Virginia right now, and it would take a constitutional amendment to change that cap. You would have to vote for that. The legislature cannot do that. So that's categorically false. Another thing is it's saying that we're going to defund the libraries and we're going to defund the fire departments in the state of West Virginia. False. And the fact is that we've been working hard to keep insurance rates down. If you do away with the fire departments in the state, your insurance is going to go through the roof. Not happening. That is not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. That's foolish talk. But once again, it's your trial lawyers, your unions, all them, that the typical culprits out here that are barking and putting this misinformation out there. And I don't mind calling them out. They've been clinging to the past. I call them legacy. And they're afraid of the future. They're afraid of the possibility of success. And that's changing. Now, I see Hannah's fingers going like this over here. So you go for it.
Well, there are a number of organizations that view this differently. They include the County Commissioners Association of West Virginia, the Governor, the West Virginia Deputy Sheriff's Association, among others. The concern is, are local counties, municipalities going to have to go and beg the state for money if they have increased needs in their firehouses, in their schools? It's who is really going to be in control of the money? And the question, I think Craig would disagree with this, is it going to be controlled from the state legislature down? Or what role is the local municipalities and counties going to have in determining what taxes they raise to supply the needs that they feel are required in our county? And we especially have an issue here because we have so many new people moving here. West Berkeley County of 1950 is not Berkeley County of this year. We have many, many new people moving here. And we don't want them just to sleep here. You know, they just act like they're just going to sleep here. They have to put something in the pot so that we can have schools, so that we can have firehouses. so we can have all the things that we need to have a safe community. That's my one concern about it.
Can I, and I'm not gonna beat you up, not you, because Hannah's great to work with. But the very people that are opposing Amendment 2, if you pay attention, they'll say they're opposed to Amendment 4. And Amendment 4 is one that makes it so that the State Board of Education has to go through the same rulemaking review process that you guys have to go through, and virtually every other agency there is out here. And they're an unelected body that's basically creating law. What it is that you've got local, county elected school boards that have dictated to them from the State Board of Education on what they can do and what they can't do. This helps the local school boards get done, but it's crazy. The culprits I was talking about that are opposed to 2 are actually opposed to 4 that could actually help them in a big way for local control. And everybody knows full well that the legislature, that the way it's made up now, is all about local control. So it's not about having any county or municipality come and bow down